What is going on, faithful? Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. I have a special guest for you guys, someone who I have been recently following because, you try to do your best, your due diligence to get as many feelers out there for all the people in the content creating community. And Raj, if you watch him on Instagram, he is a huge 49er content creator. He's been covering the team since 2013. He's from, RSF 49ers Twitter and Instagram. Raj, it was a little bit trying to get you on, but you were a quick responder, and I appreciate you taking time to come on the channel.
Hey man, anytime. I appreciate you having me. I love to collab and spread my wings as well and just talk Niner football. That's honestly, I just like to talk football. I like to talk, so here we are. I'm a social butterfly, so
I like to talk too. Even though I have anxiety, it's weird. Like I have social anxiety, but at my nervous reaction, my sister has this issue too. Yeah. She doesn't like being around a lot of people, but yet she's super talkative. So it's like it makes absolutely zero sense.
I feel like that's a lot of people because my daughter's like that. She's like kind of socially like doesn't want to talk to everybody in big crowds, but man, she can talk like nobody's business, So it's kind of the same way. So yeah.
My old man was like that. Rest in peace, Pops. But he was he didn't like big crowds, but yet he was like an old woman. He would gossip about everybody and everything and ask you about stuff. He used to ask me about music and shows that were on 20 years before I was born. I'm like, Dad, I don't know. I never saw it, So
that's
it is what it is. If he knew that I was doing this and I used my time to do this, I think he'd be pretty happy because he knew that I was kind of a big mouth and I could talk a lot. So real quick, before we get on, just let people know where to find you, what you do, how long you've been doing it. I know I kind of gave you a little bit of a summary, but for people that don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So people that don't follow me that are from your channel, RSF 49ers, like it says on the screen there that you graciously put on there. RSF 49ers Twitter. We're on Instagram. I started on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're multi-platform social media company. We're big time. So RSF 49ers. My main page is on Instagram. That's where I kind of got big, but we're trying to spread our wings here, and RSF 49ers been in the social media game probably since social media started. I remember like MySpace, but really 2013 ish. Yeah.
2013 was kind of, I think I got on Twitter and about the same time. I think it was towards the end of the Niners run with Harbaugh. I got on Twitter and just started complaining all the time. I was a different guy back then. I was so complainy and kind of a troll. And now I'm like, okay, I have a YouTube channel. I can't be a troll anymore. So
yeah. No, that's what happens when you start. Like at first you come in, you have all these like takes and you're just like flaming the team. And then when you start getting a lot of followers and things, you're like, I kind of have to be a little bit more reserved because I remember when I first got like players coming at me, like posting at me, I'm like, oh crap, okay, sorry, man. And players blocking me and stuff. So you kind of see it from a different lens. And then, you get a little bit more respect for the game. And yeah, you change over the years for sure.
Yeah, I have a couple of 49ers players that blocked me in the past. I was really mad towards the end of the what's his name? The not Tom Sula, after him, Chip Kelly. I was just a pissed off Niners fan because they were just sucking and like the front office was just bad. So like I wouldn't really like tweet at guys, but I would tweet and mention them in the tweet. And I'm like, why did I do that? That's so like, I'm like 40 something years old. I'm like, that's so lame.
Yeah,
but I admit I did it. I was different. I'm not like that anymore. I figure we start and just kind of do like a little bit of an overview of this kind of inconsistent bipolar team that we all love and watch. I put in the notes that, the overview really is that the Niners need to show consistency down the stretch. I feel like there's two versions of the Niners, and sometimes they show up within the same game. Sometimes it's just one version in the game. Sometimes it's the other. I think in the Rams game, we kind of saw both sides of it. We kind of saw it again with the game against the San Diego Chargers. My question to you is, for the Niners to really make a push, I mean, they got to win a lot of games and get into the playoffs, but this team really needs to kind of find their identity in these last 8 games. What do you kind of think maybe the reasoning behind it is, or is it just, a lot of expectation? Maybe the pressure's getting to them. Like, what exactly do the Niners need to do to kind of get to be the team that we all know they can be, but they haven't reached yet.
Yeah, no, honestly, when I was reading the notes, and I'm reading it now, it's just consistency. Honestly, that word right there, consistency is the key. And this is the team that's madly inconsistent. They're so inconsistent, and it's like you said, they're bipolar. That's like a word that describes it so well. They're very, very kind of erratic. They're up and down. It's like a roller coaster. You go through ups and downs, loop-de-loops, and swirly swirls, and it's like, oh my God. And every season you watch the games, it's like it's a crazy week after crazy week. Fred Warner said it last week. It's week to week. You got to, make sure you handle your business every week. It looks great. This team looks phenomenal. We know their players. They have great depth. We love them all. We can sit here and name them all. But sometimes they just don't play to their best abilities. They shoot themselves, but little mistakes here and there. And honestly, if this team executes and play to their best potential, this is a team that most teams won't beat. And they always start slow, and especially under the Kyle Shanahan regime. They start slow, they're late bloomers, and sometimes they bloom too late, But I think last year and this year, I think they're kind of hitting their stride at the right time. They had a lot of injuries early on. They're getting healthy, and it takes a little time to kind of gel when you have all these new pieces. Jimmy was an afterthought this year. Everybody thought he was not going to be there. He didn't play. He wasn't in training camp, all that stuff. CMC just came to the team. He's fitting in well, but it's his third game. Debo missed some time. Kittle missed some time. Elijah Mitchell. Got to get all the pieces kind of on the same place. And I think Kyle, too, trying to figure out how to get all these guys the ball. There's a lot of mouths to feed, like we say. We know how great these players are, but just kind of have to figure out how to put them all together. And then defense, they've been, unfortunately dealing with some tough issues there. Arik Armstead out. I think they expected Kinlaw to be the guy that replaced DJ Jones. Obviously not the case. And Emmanuel Mosley injury was that was crushing. So
super crushing. He's the man. Oh, the defense like completely changed as soon as he left the field. I mean, they were like blanketing, shutting down, like no bueno, no nothing.
Yeah.
As soon as he goes down, people can say what they want, but I think psychologically, when big injuries happen, like the Verrett injury, for instance, it's like, I'm not trying to use the military reference so people don't get offended, but like I guess you could use it as a soldier or a teammate or a comrade that you go to war with, so to speak, or you're with, more than you're with your own family. And then something happens to him and it's emotional. I know they said Trent Williams got kind of emotional. I won't be surprised if some of these injuries that have happened to this team, especially the Mosley and the Verrett injury, if guys, sometimes they're not in their mind, at least not right away during a game. I think once a game kicks in and it starts getting emotional and people start hitting, I think you can kind of turn it on, but
yeah. It's all emotions. That's 100%. That's what injury, like, I'm a physical therapist, and half of the rehab that most patients I've ever dealt with, actually more of it. It's mental. Like the physical with these athletes, they're in peak shape. These guys are in the best shape that you're going to ever see on most human beings. Like they're world-class athletes. That to me is not even an issue. They're going to physically get stronger. They're in a way, better body position than most average Joes. It's the mental, because these guys are expecting to go out there, put all this like film out there. They need to go earn their money, or if it's a contract season, Emmanuel Mosley, for example, he was out there putting in the best season that he could have had. This is probably his best season he ever played before the injury. And then he gets injured, and now that's going to affect his money in the long term. So it's a mental grind. That's what's going to affect him coming back. And you're right. Jason Verrett, man, this guy has went through hell and back. If he was never injured, he'd probably be one of the best cornerbacks that we've been talking about over the last decade.
Yeah.
It takes a toll not only on those players, but because you're right. You see one of your soldiers falling down, and you're like, oh, my God, man, you got to pick up the pieces. And, yes, they'll move on. Trey Lance, that was an emotional injury. You had the whole offseason.
I think a lot of fans were emotional. I was like heartbroken watching that game.
I was at the game, and it happened right in front of me. I saw the cart come out, and I couldn't even cheer that game because I was happy it happened, but things happen so much, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, man.
So do I.
And my emotions out there, and I was just like, I remember my reaction after the game. I was like, hey, I was like, yeah, hey guys, Niners just won, but it's kind of a somber mood in here. I don't know if I could be happy about it. I was wrecked, so I can only imagine the players and all that emotional toll on top of the inconsistencies. I think all of that mixture is a perfect storm for being 5-4 when this team should be having at least 7 wins. But hey, they're going to figure it out. It's a team that, with all that said, they know how to battle adversity. They're battle tested. I mean, look at all the injuries they've had over the years: Nick Bosa, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Ward, Trey Lance, Argon. Like so many big injuries to this team over the years. They know how to kind of move on and push through it and next man up. And they do a good job of getting good depth. But then the problem is when the good depth gets hurt, then you're kind of screwed. But
Yeah.
for the most part, do have a really solid depth behind those injuries because they know it's the NFL, it's football. You're going to get hurt. So they make sure they safeguard themselves, I think, better than a lot of teams. They get hurt at a high rate.
Yeah, the Niners are like the most often injured team every single year. Want to say hi to the chat real quick. We got 49er Chanel in here. Thank you for coming through as always. SF Flood, I don't think I've ever seen you before. Thank you for coming through. He says he was just watching the podcast, Raj. Great interview.
Yeah, man. That's one of my followers. I appreciate Flood. He's a cool guy. He's always checking out the shows. He's a loyal follower. So appreciate you for hopping on, man.
Brian Culp, he's one of my longest followers on YouTube. So I know all about long-standing people that watch you. Tony Culp, I would assume you're related to Brian. I'm just going to go out there, put that out on it. Thanks for coming through. One of my co-hosts for the NWO Monday show, Ryan in the building. Thanks, Brian, for coming through. Of course, Bashar, my dude, who actually told me about Raj. Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate the heads up.
Yeah.
And we got, go ahead.
No, I was just going to shout out Bash, man. I've known him for a long time, years.
That's
man.
what he says. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bash and me are, Bash, I think, I forgot what game. It might have been after the injury to Trey, that game. He went on a nice little diatribe and he was cursing and I was agreeing with every. Yeah, he was hot. But it was real. It was real. It was a real emotion that he was showing. And I think some fans are not, LS content creators are not like really big on trying to get really, cursing or getting really emotional with their coverage. They try to stay even. Bash was like, screw that. Aaron, he's like, Aaron, do you mind if I swear on your stream? I'm like, go ahead, dude. I don't care. Whatever. It has to be done. What's going on, Jesse? Awesome. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate it very, very much. Yeah. Raphael 562 again, always in the streams. Thank you so much. Yeah. Tommy Huxley, what's up, man? Thank you so much for coming through. I guess we can kind of transition from inconsistent Niners to one of the things that they've been having an issue with a lot this season. I guess they were better last year statistics wise, but the red zone offense, that game against San Diego, I don't think should have been as close. It was a lot closer than it needed to be. Of course, we're all talking about that. And at the end of the game where I think we should have went for it on fourth down, Elijah Mitchell trips on third down. And it's just, man, this team has so many weapons. I think sometimes they have too many weapons.
Yeah.
It's like they have all these pieces that they can play with, but I don't know if it's the limitations of the quarterback. I don't know if it's Kyle trying to protect Jimmy from himself, or Kyle really just doesn't know what to do with all these players. What do you think the Niners got to do to kind of get this freaking offense to score some touchdowns and start putting teams that we should be beating by 2-3 scores out of the game?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's something I was talking about earlier today. It's just that's the issue is red zone inefficiency. Like we talk about how they're so inconsistent, but it bleeds over to the red zone so much. And it's so much. And I feel like part of it is, you have a lot of weapons. And I think part of it too is I think Kyle's just overstimulated and he kind of maybe second himself. He's a little just confused maybe because you're like, oh my God, I got this guy. They all can get the ball, but I feel like, they're a run first team. They want to run. Obviously they got to run. I feel like maybe the personnel decision, having Elijah Mitchell being the goal line, but guy, I think CMC should have been the guy that gets the red zone, carries. He's got a knack for the touchdowns. Elijah Mitchell's great. I think he had a phenomenal game this Sunday against the Chargers, and it was better than I expected him, coming off an MCL sprain. He's the guy that's going to get you down there. He's going to get those zone read, those big runs. He's going to push you down the field. Once you get to the red zone, I think they got to put CMC. And also, too, I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive and take some shots. Like, I know they want to run the ball. I know you're an aggressive team. You're a bully team. You want to hit them in the mouth. Take a few shots. Like, they ran 41 times against the Chargers, which is crazy. My magic number is usually between 30, 35 for them. They could have maybe done about 4 different plays that were pass plays maybe. Throw it up to George Kittle. I guarantee you that he beat any tight end 9 times out of 10. You got Juwan Jennings, who's a dog. He's a big time go up and get it possession type receiver. We've seen it on third downs. And then also there's some execution issues. You can't just blame the play calling. As Ayuk did drop a big pass. I mean, that was the most disgusting route I've seen in a long time. And he wanted that. He's probably like hitting himself all week. Like,
he's got that stinky leg when he runs routes where he I don't even know how to explain it. His routes are so crisp and electric, and the fact that he dropped that touchdown, just we are always so quick to blame Jimmy. At least I am, because I'm not a Jimmy guy. And I'm like, damn, Ayuk, Jimmy's been kind of doing all right these last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then it's like it never can happen at the same time. Either Jimmy's, throwing untimely picks to linebackers, or receivers are fumbling and dropping passes. I'm like, we're getting some favors with the schedule right now. We're getting some teams that we should beat coming up.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, the Niners got to take advantage of all these games. They shouldn't be this stressful. Like that Chargers game was stressful watching.
No reason, but that's the thing, because the Niners played down to their opponent.
They do.
It's like you're like sitting there. I'm like, all right, we're gonna have a nice, easy, relaxing game, and then
smack these dudes.
And I'm sweating. My blood pressure's up through the roof. I'm like calling my cardiologist, like, yo, man, give me some meds. Because sometimes
give me some heart medication, please.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, why is this game so stressful every single year? That's how they do it. But it's just Niner football, man. That's how it goes. And I just feel like a lot of it is because they just are they're just an inconsistent team. And honestly, there's no rhyme or reason. I feel there's so many factors. There's, again, the team is trying to gel together. They've had injuries. They've had some, maybe quarterback and coach dissension. Like they didn't trust each other for all these years. And now maybe they're starting to get on the same page. But I still feel like there is a little distrust there. Does Kyle trust Jimmy as he used to? But to like you said, to your point, Jimmy's played pretty dang good over the last couple of weeks, man. He's played better than, a lot of people want to give him credit for. He's pushed the ball down the field. He's made some big, deep passes. But like you said, he's made some big, deep passes that receivers have dropped. Ray McLeod has dropped a few big passes. Tyler Kroft a couple weeks ago. Like those big plays, they stand out in my mind. Like you can't just blame the quarterback, because that's the easy answer. Like, it's quarterback play. So, like, yeah, he'll make mistakes here and there. But when he doesn't, there's some other issues. And again, sometimes it could be play calling, aggressiveness, like you said, going for it on fourth down. That's something I would have liked to see. But I just think it's a multitude of reasons. It's not just one reason. But going on the whole grand point of it, they got to fix this red zone, because I get it. They got some winnable teams, but they're not winnable if you're not going to score points. You got to score touchdowns. And then when they play teams that are a little tougher, again, if they play the Chiefs down the line again in the Super Bowl, who knows? Or if they play a team like the Eagles, or they're going to play the Dolphins a few weeks, those teams can score. You got to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah. My brother's a Miami Dolphins fan. He's been a Dolphins fan a long time. I've been a Niners fan a long time. I told my brother, I was like, man, that game's going to suck against you guys, because you guys can move the ball and you got two really electric receivers. I say, you run our offense better than we run our offense. And that's not right. It's not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to be the little brother.
Yeah.
So you're not supposed to be executing and doing everything that Kyle's been trying to do for 6 years.
Yeah.
So that game, to me, that game is scary, because like the Niners' strength in the beginning of the year with those two corners, I would have said, yeah, bring on Waddle, bring on Tyreek. But man, once Mosley went down, and then it's like, now we're one corner away. So, but let's not worry about the Dolphins right now. We got, we got Arizona, and I think we got the Saints after that. So two really winnable games, especially Arizona's kind of in this weird thing now, because nobody knows who the quarterback's going to play. Now DeAndre Hopkins got a hamstring. I thought going in with all these players missing from the Chargers last week, this was going to be a freaking cakewalk.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking at all these reports, and I'm like, that doesn't give me hope, because we underperformed against a team we should have smashed. So, like, people are like, oh, we're going to be out this is going to be great. I'm like, yeah, until the Niners come in and freaking shoot themselves in the foot. As Niners fans who are actually honest with themselves, we are some of the most reflecting fans, as far as we know our team. Yeah. And we know our team might come out and lay an egg against a team we should smash.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden come out and play this great game against a team that we didn't think we had a chance against. It's like, can we just get you to be somewhat consistent 1 week, please?
That's what I'm saying, please. But it's like going back to what we said. they play down to an opponent for whatever reason. And it's just so frustrating because you're right. You see the reports, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be a cakewalk. And it's probably going to be one of the hardest games of the year. That's kind of the vibe I get. But you also got to think, Arizona, they got their backs against the wall. This is basically a must win. If they lose this game, they're out of the playoffs. But they got a lot of issues. Who the heck's going to be the quarterback? D-Hop, their coach is just terrible. I'm not a Kingsbury guy. They're tough.
I can't stand him.
I know.
His body language, the way he has that weird, like, long neck. Like, I'm always telling my brother, I was like, what is with his, why does he stand that way? Like, his whole demeanor bothers me. I told my brother, I was like, there's a coach right there that's only as good as his players.
Yeah.
He's only as good as his players.
He can't elevate them because he's not a good coach. And
no.
Never a good coach in college either.
No, he was pretty much trash in college, and he came to the. Say what you want. You can get into a whole other discussion about head coaches and people who should have opportunities, and we all know with that conversation that needs to be talked about at a later date by the league. Yeah. And then you give a guy like him a job, and he's been pretty much junk since he's been a coach. But yet, there's probably more qualifying assistants that can't seem to sniff a coaching job. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not big on him. But Niners need to do their work this Monday. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the game. It's weird. Since I've got my YouTube channel, I don't get as mad and stressed when I watch games. Like we were talking off stream, sometimes you're so worried about what you're going to be doing content-wise that you're not even really focused on the game sometimes because you're trying to think of like, okay, I want to go here. I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good point. They really did really bad on this point. Well, that game against the freaking Chargers last week, I was cursing. I haven't cursed watching a game in like 3-4 years, right? Because I was just like, get it together. Come on. Like, what is the holdup here? Like, how are we? You're off the bye week. It's like the second or third quarter. When are you going to turn it up? Like, sure enough, they start playing really well. And I don't know, man. I got really hot for the first time in a long time. And I don't like getting emotional watching football games because I can get really mad to the point where I start throwing stuff and I'm like, I can't do that. I'm too old for this. So
yeah, man, that first half was madly frustrating. I was at the game at the stadium. I'm just like Jeff. Yeah, I was the same way. I said, get it together, man. I didn't come all the way over here to see you guys lose in person. Like, get it together, figure it out. And I was like, and I remember saying, let's get these second half adjustments. Please come out and adjustments. And they did. And honestly, after that, we've all been pretty happy. But it wasn't like a perfect win. It was a sloppy win. It was a sloppy win, but you win the game.
It's a win's a win.
It wins a win because at the end of the day, if they win a Super Bowl, you're not going to sit there and go, oh, well, they barely beat the Chargers. You're not going to come out and say that. But it's a game that they're going to learn a lot from. They're going to look at the tape and they're going to say, holy crap, this is what we need to fix. And it's a game that you learn from. And again, they were coming off the bye week. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they were a little rusty. But if they come out and they come out the same way they did against the Cardinals as they did the Chargers, then, okay, we got an issue. I'm going to come off on you and go crazy. Be like, hey, you're still madly inconsistent. You're still having these blunders at the start of the game. Start better. Finish. I know you can finish strong because before it was they couldn't finish and, close out a game or couldn't come back in a game or make the adjustments. Now we're on them for not starting right. So just give us two good halves. Can we get 2 good halves? That's what I want.
Play the game backwards. Play the first half like you do the second half. Score a bunch of points and then hold on for dear life towards the end of the game. I don't know. Whatever it takes. So, I mean, here I was telling you before, this interface, I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
I have to keep clicking and switching back through. I lose my place. So our guy, Jesse, big shout out to Jesse Naylor. I really wasn't going to talk about this, but it got a lot of traction. The whole Trent Williams tip and plays thing. I'm just going to ask you, what's your opinion? Do you think it's a big deal? I mean, he's gotten Emmanuel Ocho responding to him, which I thought was freaking awesome.
Yeah, he got everybody.
Props to Jesse, man. That is great. Dude, that's awesome. Like, I was looking at the response and I'm like, who tweeted him? And then I look and I see last second. I'm like, no way. And there's different opinions. There's, Jesse was talking about how, like, in the first week of the season, one of the defenders who hasn't gotten a sack since or a pressure or whatever, saying that, he was tipped off by Trent Williams' sets. Yeah. And then you got people saying, you got to worry about this and you got to worry about this. Emmanuel Ocho confusing the hell out of everybody, talking way too much, getting all extra wordy.
For 2 minutes, basically say,
he just likes to show off the fact that he's a really good speaker
Yeah.
to hide the fact that he's only really saying something that could have took like 10 seconds.
10 seconds. I mean, in the long short of it, he basically said there's just so much little time. There's a small window for you to, he's put his foot in this position. Okay, this is the play, guy. Like in that small second.
Just say that.
Yeah, I mean, just say it like that. No, don't go off on this like long tangent. But in the short of it, so I've talked about this obviously too. But shout out to my man Jesse and everyone else that kind of brought this to attention. And that's what it's all about. You watch the film, you pick things out, and whether people like believe it or not or whatever, he got a lot of negative flack from it too. Because that's what happens when you make a take. There's going to be people that agree with you and they support you and they back you up. Then there's going to be people that don't and they say you're stupid and whatever the case is. But there's a lot of NFL offensive linemen talking about it. Emmanuel Acco, he talked about it. It's a big time community. I honestly think, regardless if you agree with it or not, it was good for the community because it sparked, good conversation. We can talk about it. And not only that, it's a topic about a position that nobody talks about. Nobody talks about offensive linemen for the most part.
No, they don't.
The only thing we talk about is when you see, oh my God, did you see that crazy pancake that Trent Williams blocked? And oh man.
Yeah, he took a DB and squished him into the ground. He actually went underground.
Exactly. So we talk about that kind of stuff, like the big highlight block. We talk about George Kittle's basically a right tackle. And then we talk about how bad Mike McGlinchey is. Those are usually the only conversations.
Pretty much.
But now we've kind of evolved and we're like, oh, well, does it even matter? And for my answer, it's kind of two-sided. For the short term, I don't think it necessarily matters right away because, I think you have to be able to grind the film. You have to be able to study it, understand the plays. And sometimes if you call the play wrong, you're going to whiff bad. But also, too, Trent Williams, it's not going to affect him. And I think that was the big point that Jesse was making that, it's not going to really affect Trent Williams because he's a all-pro.
Right.
I'm all, pro. But, of course, he tipped the play and he still beats him. But that's just him putting his foot in a position to give himself the mechanical advantage. This is how he operates. He's going to slip back. He wants to get leverage. It works for him. But it's the other players on the line. And I think that was his big point was, okay, if Trent's going to come in this stance and it's a pass play, guess what? Mike McGlinchey is also bad. We're going to go on the right side and load him up. So I think in the long run, it might have an effect and maybe not official and like in the game right away, but it's like in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. Let's imagine a team has 2 weeks to prep for the 49ers and they're grinding that film and he's doing the same thing that he's been doing and he doesn't change it up. Then it could have a little bit of an impact on a game like that down the line. In the short term, maybe not so much, but in the long term, I think it does have an effect because you do pick up these nuances and you can look at it and say, hey, look, it generally is showing that it's a pattern. If he's putting his foot in this position, he's running it, or if he's putting it in this position, he's passing it. And it could help the linebackers get in a different position, help with pressure on the quarterback. So I think it does make an impact. And sometimes, like they say, it's a game of inches. Sometimes that one little play, that one little inch might change the tide of a game. So I think in the long run, it does matter.
And I think I don't like people pulling rank on somebody because they played or they covered the team on a full-time basis and they want to pull rank on someone, say like Jesse pointing something out. Like sometimes you just got to watch things with your own eyes. Mm-hmm. You don't need a degree. You don't need to be a film. You don't have to be like somebody who works at NFL Films to have an opinion. Yeah. Sometimes you could just watch something with your own eyes and be like, okay, for instance, McGlinchey, a lot of people are picking on him. He's not really that bad. Yeah, but he's kind of bad in like important spots. He might be consistently doing okay, but when he's getting blown up on plays where you really need him to perform, that's what really matters. So if we're going to critique everything and say he's really not doing that bad, but we needed this play and we needed him to hold this guy and protect, and he gets bum rushed into the quarterback and falls on top of him. So to me, it's one of those things where just giving somebody the credit, be like pointing something out and be like, it can. It's not necessarily always a case, but instead of like, I'm going to pull rank and talk for 3 minutes on nonsense just to make yourself look good because you play professional football. I find that a little bit like annoying that like people do that. Like
it's conceited.
And of course someone like Jesse be like, you played, more than me, but no, stand firm on your freaking point.
And he did a good job of standing by and sticking with his guns and say, hey, look, because all week he was like clapping back and then he gave evidence and stuff. And I appreciate that. Again, good conversation. And I think, again, it's an opinion. We're all going to have opinions, whether you agree with it or not. I don't think you should go out of your way and try to make someone look stupid. Like, oh, I'm puffing your chest out. I'm an offensive lineman. I played this and that, and you don't know it. Like, if you really look at it, it's a genuine, honest take, and I think it does have some bearings. And even so, Grant asked him today. He said, "Hey, look," he goes, "That's kind of a big deal." So I don't know if he was trolling him or not, but I think it is. In the grand scheme of things, I think it does make some bearing on the game. I know a lot of linemen, that's what they do. But if you can figure out a play, and there's one play that you stop because of that tell, and that's the play that wins the game, then there you go. It made all the difference in the world. So again, it's not like a short-term effect. I think it's a long-term effect. But also too, I want to kind of segue because he's talked about McGlinchey.
Yeah, go right ahead. You were going right there next.
Might as well segue to that. So I think you hit it on the nail. He's not horrible, and people say, "Oh, well, he makes good plays here and there," but he also makes bad plays, and he's inconsistent. Again, going back to the Niners theme, inconsistencies, and it's the plays that matter most. He makes like just horrible plays, and I know he's been injured this year, whatever, but I got no excuse for that. I'm not going to give him any excuses because look, he was a first-round pick, a top 10 pick.
That's right.
Showed that big leap that you would expect out of a top 10 pick. I know he was a captain, so he's a good guy in the locker room, and I get that, great person. But you want more out of a top 10 pick, right? No Pro Bowls. Like, you want him to be that like elite player and a good run blocker. And that's great in Shanahan's offense. He is a great, run blocker. He's like a rhino pushing down the line. But when you have to drop back and pass, it limits the offense. And he's kind of the weak link there. He's the liability. So we know Jimmy's not going to escape pressure. And, he's kind of, dancing in the pocket when pressure's there. And it's because he knows that right side's going to collapse. So maybe in his mind, he's thinking, "Yeah, get rid of this ball quick." And, oh, shit, there's pressure. You know what I mean? So, I think it makes Jimmy worse than, he might actually be. Because when he has pressure and he can get those balls, out quick and he can get it to the players and on those little screen passes to CMC, Debo, and hit, Ayuk on a nice little slant play, they go and do the work. It's like he always says. He goes, "My job is to distribute the ball to them, and they're going to do the work." But when you don't have that time to make that happen, oh boy, it's a bad mistake. And he's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw it to the linebacker. So he does put him in a jeopardy because his pass protection is not the greatest that you would expect from a top 10 player. He has good moments, but he also has bad moments. So if you're going to call out the good plays, you got to call out the bad plays. And I think he's just inconsistent. And I think fans want more from him because of the fact that he was that first-round pick.
A lot of people say that you just hate on McGlinchey just to hate. And it's like, nah, dude, like, again, you could be a fan who's been watching the team since 1990, 89, like I have.
Yeah.
I know when someone's really good and I know when somebody sucks. And I'm not saying that I could play better. I always tell people, yeah, here's the thing. I'm not a professional athlete. So I don't have to worry about if I'm going to be better or if I would have been as good because that was never going to be my job in the first place. You're a top 10 pick. You're expected to perform like a top 10 pick, just like Kinlaw being drafted in the top 15. He should be an all-pro.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't just be a space eater. He should be getting pressure up the middle and this, that, and the other. And it's like people become like, oh, you just can't criticize. No, you can. Personal things is one thing. If you're going to attack somebody personally, talk about how they look, they're a woman, their kids, or take shots at whatever they believe in, that's dumb. But if you're going to keep it on the field, I think all's fair.
Yeah, I
especially
agree.
If your whole thing is content creating or you have a job covering the team, you should be able to say things without getting repercussion back of saying like you're a hater. No, I'm just kind of calling it like it is.
Yeah.
He might not be the worst guy, but when you need him to make a big block on a pass play that's long developing and he's the one that's always getting put on skates every single play, it's freaking annoying. And you could be, as a fan, be pissed off. I was screaming at the TV the other night with him too. I'm like, there was a play where Jimmy Garoppolo got pushed right into Jimmy's lap. And I'm just like, Jimmy feels that pressure. Jimmy's not exactly good at hiding the fact that the choppy feet, the pumping, Grant did the little thing years ago with that little video of him patting the ball. Yeah. That Jimmy really does that.
Yeah.
So it's stressful, but like I said, I mean, that's why Kittle, I got called out for not knowing that Kittle only stayed on 2 pass protection blocks out of like 27 attempts or 25 attempts. All I know is it seems like Kittle's always in pass blocking when we need him to be out and running routes. But I guess if you watch the film, that's not the case. But it just seems that way.
It does.
Personally.
There are times where I feel like Kittle could be utilized more in the passing game. But feel like he does have to hold his hand in blocking situations more than he needs to be. More than he needs to be. But again, like you said, as a content, you're out there content creating, you're going to give your opinion. That's what people come to your show for, to listen to your takes. And that's what social media and sports media, on my page and in your page. And so what we do after the game, you get people like, for me, for example, like people will message me, what do you think about the game? They'll text me, blah, blah, blah. So instead of just sitting there and texting 100 people or whatever the case is, I'm going to go live and tell you my feelings and my thoughts. And whether you agree with it or not, I don't care. That's what we're about. That's what it is. You go and watch ESPN, you go watch Stephen A. Smith or whatever. They're doing the same thing. So why can't we as fans? I know we're not the same people because we're not up in ESPN studio, but I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? And eventually people will listen to you, and they just want to hear conversation because they want to hear your thoughts. They're going to share their thoughts, and then they're going to go to their friend tomorrow at the water cooler at work on Monday and say the same stuff or say, well, this guy said this. And it's just conversation. And you know what? If you're gonna give everybody positive flowers, at the same time, if they make a mistake, you should be able to criticize them for making mistakes, and they should be open to criticism. And it's a two-way street. I feel like you should be able to do too. But yeah, as far as McGlinchey, definitely it's the big moments that hurt him. And again, as a first-round pick, a top 10 pick, you expect greatness. I mean, I do. That's the whole point is.
Brian Culp says that mean you have to team up again. I appreciate that.
Hey, appreciate you, man.
That means a lot, to be honest. I guess we'll talk about some positive. The duo of Elijah Mitchell and CMC looked pretty damn good on Sunday night. Wow, we missed Elijah Mitchell, man. He's really talented. Like, he's dumb talented. I just wish his body would hold up.
I know. I said the same thing watching the game. I'm like, okay, I knew he was good. I knew he was so good last year. I mean, you go out there and you're the leading all-time rookie rush leader in 49ers history. They had some pretty damn good running backs,
Yeah.
Roger Craig, right?
Ricky Waters, yeah.
Phenomenal running backs. And
Frank Gore.
He missed 6 games last year, and he did that. So, the talent is there. It's just, can his body stand up to the punishment? And again, MCL sprain with my rehab background, I was like, I don't know if he's going to have that big of a game. I wasn't expecting much. I knew he was going to have a rotation. I was on my friend Smitty. I don't know if you know the fantasy football show. I was on his show. I did a call in on Saturday night. I do that sometimes. And they always ask me the Niner questions. And I said, they said expectations about Mitchell. I said maybe 8 to 10, at most 12 carries. And I was like, that would be pushing it. And I said 8 to 10. And everybody's like, you're dumb. He's going to get 3-4 carries. I said, it's likely MCL sprain. You never know. This man came out there and he was running like he was never hurt. And he was running so freaking smooth. And I don't even think he was at his full strength. First game off an injury. He's rusty. If that's Elijah Mitchell rusty, oh my God, man, this guy's a stud. He was so
going through the holes. He was so what's the word? Like, his vision, he was
decisive.
Yes. There was no stutter step.
Nothing.
I watch holes and I'm like, there's no hole there, and he's getting 6 yards. I'm like, where? How? How is he sneaking through? He's a good sized guy. Same thing with McCaffrey when he gets through the hole. Sometimes I'm like, what?
It's a nice.
It's nice. It's a nice problem to have.
It is.
It's sad that both of them are kind of have a history of injuries.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to take it easy. I was listening to KNBR and they asked, I don't know who it was. It might have been Mayoka. I don't know. There's so many people that are on there. I try to jump between them and 95.7 the game. It might have been 95.7 the game. I don't know. It could have been Shasky or Bonte. Like, they asked somebody how many carries, and they're like, I'd say about 10, 12 to 14. 10 to 14 or something like that, and he had 20.
Yeah.
So I was just like, geez, Kyle, ease him back in a little bit.
That's what I said. Ease him in, man. But I mean, he is a running back. That's what you got him for. And CMC is this dual threat guy. And now and I think it's good for CMC because he's been the guy that's had to carry a team and backpack a team and do all this stuff. And he's had a high volume usage and he's gotten hurt because of it. And same thing with Mitchell. He's kind of broken down. So I think they're going to be good for each other. I know the fantasy community is like, oh, no, it's not good because they're going to split. For the Niners, I'm happy. Whatever they got to do to keep them both healthy, because they're both good. I mean, Elijah Mitchell could go out there and he run all those big time runs and then go between the tackles and zone reads. This guy Christian McCaffrey, man, he's the best thing that ever happened to Jimmy Garoppolo because he's a check down king. this is the best check down type of running back that you can have. You can throw the little bubble screen to him, and he's going to get 10 yards almost every time. It is unbelievable watching CMC. I saw him every time. Every time he takes that little screen pass, and he'll like shake a defender, and then he comes up and he gets to the next level. I'm like, how's he doing it? And he's so smooth when he runs. Like, it's just like buttery smooth when he runs. I love that guy.
Yeah, I told my brother because he's a Dolphins fan, so it's like they got 3 running backs that were in our backfield at one point. Yeah. Even their third stringer. I'm like, damn, the Niners, when it comes to running back, they just I don't know, they find them everywhere. Yeah. And the fact that Bobby Turner's back, that always makes me really happy too.
Yeah.
We I guess we have, I can't say the same issue, but we have, Jauan Jennings returned last week.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Ayuk. To me, Ayuk is looking like the number 1 receiver on this team.
Yeah.
I think Debo's you could say he's 1 in 1A with CMC as far as the playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going the true one wide receiver, I think he's that. He makes really big catches in traffic. Mm-hmm. He runs the whole route tree, which is key. Debo really can't do that because he's kind of squashy and little. Yeah. And then Jauan Jennings, where the hell did he come from? He's slow as molasses, man. He can't break away, but damn, I told somebody, is like, he had some speed, he'd be like T.O., man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing he lacks, but man, huge clutch catches. So between the two of them, like, let's talk Ayuk first, man. Like, you seem to agree that he is to the number 1 guy on this team for sure.
He's wide receiver 1, and I've been saying it. So before the season started, I was on my show, and I was telling everybody, and I was having that argument with that guy Smitty I was telling you about. And actually, I had Mike from Nothing But Niners. I had myself. We had Wayne. We had this big discussion. It was a long night, and we were talking about it. And I said, man, and I remember I made the statement. I think Crocker was in there, and I said, look, man, wide receiver 1 is Brandon Ayuk, and I'm not taking anything away from Debo. In the terms of a true wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk is that guy. He's him. And I knew he was going to like break out. And Kyle was tough on him early in the career, tough love. And I think he wanted to do that to get the best out of him. And this guy's route running, like we said earlier, it's so amazing. Like he's a phenomenal route runner. And that's what you need to be a top flight wide receiver. From where he started as a rookie till now, I mean, he runs that route tree like nobody's business, man. He is a flat out wide receiver 1. If you had a quarterback that could push the ball down the field a little bit more, I mean, he's putting up Justin Jefferson numbers. I'm telling you, man. Yep. This guy is so good. But in my show before the bye week, I did a mid-season, award. Everybody was doing this, so I did one. Brandon Ayuk, to me, was the first half MVP of this offense. He was the most consistent player in the offense. And now you're kind of seeing him get that chemistry with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're vibing, man. This guy, at least 6 catches, 80 yards for the last 4 games. And he's been the most important, the most consistent, the most, trustful receiver on this group. I know he had that drop. He probably didn't get a lot of sleep out of it because it probably ate him. And he's the type of guy that's going to work. If he gets that opportunity again, he's not dropping that. But route running, unbelievable. Debo is a weapon. He's different type of guy, right? He's the wide back. He's going to be your playmaker. Like you said, he's not, in a sense, a true wide receiver like Ayuk. And I agree with you. Number 1 receiver, Brandon Ayuk. But, man, this guy, Jauan Jennings, I mean, it's like they always say, he got that dog in him. This guy, Jauan Jennings, is a dog. He's tough. And I like Jennings because he's the type of guy, and he said it too in his interview. He goes, look, I don't care if I score a touchdown or if I'm helping someone score a touchdown. I'm out there to do my job. He's the dirty work type of guy. He's the glue guy. Like the Draymond Green, Dennis Rodman type guy out there. His job is just to help everybody. And if his number gets called on a pass, he's going to go and make that catch because he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. Such a sure, handed possession receiver. You're right. If he had speed, he'd probably be a top the 2nd round pick, maybe.
He wouldn't have been a 7th round pick.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been 7th round.
He's insane.
Oh, good. I think he's what Jauan Jennings is everything I think they thought Jalen Hurd was going to be in terms of physicality, being that willing blocker in the open field, man. This guy, he's just tough, man. He's gritty, and I like him.
He's big. He's got a nice catch rate. I noticed something about Jimmy. He seems to excel throwing to guys that have big catch radiuses. He likes to, because Jimmy's a little high on his throws a lot of times. And he was in this game too. And Ayuk was just snatching catches. Same thing with Jauan Jennings. with Debo, it's like you really got to put the ball on him because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of Debo's like squashy, you know. He's got that ET body, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but
ET, that's a good one.
He's got the ET body.
That's good.
He's kind of compact.
Good.
But he's a guy that if you get the ball in space and he's able to run, he can hurt some people.
Yeah. You put him in open space and nobody's tackling him because he's going to hit them before they try to. Nobody wants to hit him because he's so physical. And that's the type of guy. Debo, you need to get the ball to him in open space, slant and go or screen, and it's over. You're not going to catch him because once he gets the ball, he's like a running back and he takes off. He hits
Jimmy. I just want to ask Jimmy Garoppolo one thing, dude. You got to get more accurate on your screen passes, bro, because he's either air mailing them or they skid into the ground. There's like, I know sometimes the pass rush is there and he's trying to get over the top of an outstretched lineman, but come on, dog. Some of these are like layups in the NFL. Yeah. I think guys, when a throw is too easy, they almost psych themselves out by just like over or under, like throwing it to try not to put too much. And they either skid it into the ground or they shoot it into the first row. It's like, hey, but hey, listen, like you said, Jimmy to me is, Jimmy's a point guard. He's a facilitator.
Yeah.
He has no arm, so he's got a dink and dunk, which is fine. I mean, I think Montana had a decent arm compared to Jimmy. And Montana didn't have a big arm, but Montana used all the same tricks. Running backs, fullbacks, slants, crossers, all that stuff. Montana was insanely accurate, though. I think that's where the difference is. But Jauan Jennings, to me, I didn't realize how much I missed him watching games until he was back. So you forget about him because there's so many number one, alpha males on this team, and you forget about Jauan Jennings. And then he makes 3 or 4 huge first down, like the first down he got where he just like buried that defensive back and rolled over for the first down. I love that.
Crazy. And that drive was Jauan Jennings' drive. It was like, okay, he was in a zone. Here we go. Third and Jauan. And it's crazy because third down efficiency has been pretty damn good. And I think a lot of it is because you have a guy like that and he's going to be open and you trust him. And when you build that trust, man, it's hard to stop. And they get in that groove. And you're right, man. Jauan, he just locks in. And if it's third and long, you just give it to him, man. And it's going to, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it. And that's what you want. He's such a good role player that you're right. When he's not in there, it makes a big factor. But you don't realize it until he comes back and you're like, oh, wow, we really missed him. With all those weapons, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, like all those guys. And he was the most effective receiver that day. It's crazy. He's the 7th round pick.
The Niners, like for instance, back in the day, Jerry Rice was the guy. He was always the star, but people never realized how much until you look back how great John Taylor really was. And I'm not saying either of these guys are John Taylor. I'm just saying, we always give attention to the stars and the stars and the stars, and they're so great, and we worship them. But there's those guys, those nitty gritty guys that make big catches. I mean, for instance, you look at the 88 season, or was it the 89 season? I think it was the 89 season. John Taylor, 2 touchdowns on 2 slants, took them both almost 90 yards. All Montana did was throw a slant, because you were always so focused on Jerry Rice that you never really realized that on any other team, John Taylor probably could have been a number 1.
Oh, 100%.
The Niners got a good thing. They got a lot of weapons. And I think that's why we get frustrated because we're like, but how can you not score points? You literally have a loaded offensive roster. And yet your defense, who's crippled and has all these injuries, are walking around freaking shutting teams out in the second half. Help them out a little bit because Bosa likes to eat. And how does Bosa eat? Up a bunch of points, knowing teams are going to throw, and he gets to tee off and bum rush and take tackles that are bigger than him and put them on their ass. That's the one thing about Bosa that I love is you could take guys that are like 6'5", 360. They might body him a couple times, but then you'll see him put a guy on skates, and it's just like, damn, I'm so glad he's on my team.
Yeah.
I guess. My boy Rohan's in here.
There he is. Rohan, what's up?
We got all the stars in here tonight. Thank you for coming through. Thank you. What the hell? I feel famous
Rohan
tonight.
You're
bringing in all the hot commenters in here. I guess we'll jump back to defense.
Okay.
The Greenlaw situation. I initially, when I was watching the game, I thought it was the right call to flag him until people kind of broke it down and we're talking like, it's in slow motion and this was happening and this guy was lowering and everybody's explaining the mise en place of the whole situation.
Yeah.
The part I didn't like, and I know Kyle Shanahan didn't either, is the fact that they ejected him.
Yeah.
As if he was targeting, which I told my brother, I said, you know what it is? He's got a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Greenlaw has a reputation of being a little bit of a cheap shot artist.
Aggressive.
And I think the league was covering their ass.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't have that reputation and it's just a one-off thing, that's one thing. But he's been known to kind of come in a little late. Guys are almost halfway down and he's got to finish them off the top. He's got to skim off the fat, so to speak. But Rohan, I'm here for you, man. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that very much. But what is your take on that? I'm on both sides of it. I don't like the ejection, and I hope they don't suspend him. But I kind of understood as it happened why maybe they flagged him.
Yeah, I get the flag. I think it should have been a flag. I mean, obviously, helmet. You hate to see that. You got to protect the players. But a couple of things. I don't think he should have been ejected because it wasn't a malicious intent. I don't think he was trying to take him. If you watch the play, Jimmy Ward kind of hits Herbert and it pushes his trajectory. Greenlaw comes. I mean, he's in midair. You can't just like go gadget pod. You can't freeze yourself in midair. You're going to keep going. So the momentum took him and he hit him. So I don't think he was trying to take him. But what you said is he has a history of kind of headhunting. And then at the end of the game, Jimmy Ward said, hey, if a running quarterback's coming, we're going to try to kill him. So I feel like it links up to that mentality of maybe the league says, hey, this guy has been doing it for a couple of years. He is maybe a headhunter. And it was kind of like a karma type or like a makeup type call. Like, hey, man, this is the final. We finally have been trying to get this guy thrown up. We're going to do it because of the past. You know what I mean? So I think it was kind of a makeup call. But I don't think he'll get suspended. I think he'll get fined this weekend. Unfortunately, I think he's going to get fined on Saturday when they issue out fines and stuff, which is usually Saturdays.
You think the organization pays that fine for him?
I think they will, because I know they don't think it was malicious. I know they really like Greenlaw. I mean, he's a good guy. He's just an aggressive player. When he's on the field, you just see he's just dripping energy. He's like that.
Niners need a couple of guys. That's why I wasn't totally against the whole Sue signing until he got signed. Yeah. Niners need a little attitude sometimes. They're a really goody two-shoe kind of roster here. Yeah. So you step on someone's ankle. Okay, so what? I didn't see it. As long as it ain't my dude, I don't care. We all say that we hate guys until they come on our team and they're kind of bringing the nasty.
Yeah.
Whoever was against Dion or this person or that person. And then the Niners sign him and it's like everything's like Sherman, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
I do like guys that have a little bit, like I was telling my brother, and I won't say the word, I'll edit myself. The word rhymes with wussy. I said that's football when quarterbacks can run and they can't get hit. Yeah. Because if I was a defender, I would have dropped the elbow on this guy. Like, I hate running quarterbacks because they use that rule. My brother's like, once they break the pocket, it should be fair game. You should be able to wallop a dude. You know what I mean? Like, come in, forearm shiver, take somebody out, don't care. They say they're not protecting the quarterback and he's not a quarterback on the play, but yet they throw the flag like as if he was a quarterback. So make your mind up with the rule. Are you looking at him as a ball carrier or as a quarterback? Because from what that happened, that was a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Because any other player who gets whacked like that, most of the time they don't say anything. Now, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I think they acted as he's a quarterback. It's Herbert. They're going to protect the quarterback. But again, once you start running, you're a ball carrier. Like the rule needs to change, and I don't think they're consistent with it. I agree. It's kind of a wishy-washy rule, and I think he got penalized for that. Again, I agree they should have thrown the flag. I'm not upset. If they would have thrown the flag, I would have been like, all right, cool. Let's clean that up. But the fact he got ejected, I mean, I think also that was a turning point in the game because he got ejected. I mean, the crowd was like, they went. I mean, it was hot inside. I'm sure, like you were hot watching the game inside the stadium. We were just like seething. You could see it when you saw the jumbotron and the replay.
I could hear it on the surround. The fans booing the hit.
We were so mad. He was walking off the field. He was like, he didn't want to leave the field. Greenlaw.
I wouldn't either.
And he was just, you could tell he was just like hyped up. And then he tweets mid game. He's
Yes,
like, free
he's
me.
in.
That was funny.
He's in the dark in the locker room. Where was he sitting? In the training room, a bathroom stall? Like, where was he?
No, he's crazy, dude. And then I think that was something that they used as a rallying point because they made that big adjustment in the second half. I honestly think they said, you know what? That was unjust. We're going to go out. And I feel like that gave them that adrenaline. And Greenlaw probably say, hey, look, I shouldn't have got thrown out. I want you guys to go out there, win for your boy. And because when they came out in the second half, I saw them when they were running to the side, like they were amped. I was like, whoa, this is like they came out with some energy. Like when they were running out of the tunnel, I was like, this team has some juice to them. So I feel like it really motivated them in a good way. Like they were probably pissed and they were like, okay, you're going to take one of our guys out. We're going to show you and we're going to show you hard. And they played so good in that second half. Bosa was just relentless. And Fred Warner was absolutely crazy that game. And I honestly think you could see it at the end of the game when they were in that in the locker room when they were making their speech. Like Fred Warner was huffing and puffing, man. I was like, man, they expended a lot of energy. But I think that was because all that energy from being pissed at Greenlaw, man.
I know for a fact that if I would have played professional sports, I would have been the Dennis Rodman type, the antagonistic person that would take the shot and get in trouble for hitting somebody late. Because I have a temper. And I'm the type of person, if I was a defender and a quarterback kept running on me, oh, Lord, I understand Greenlaw just having like, I'm going to put this guy, I'm going to knock his dick in the dirt and just slam him into the, you know what I mean? Like, I get that. I hate running quarterbacks.
I do too, man.
I get so mad. And so does my brother. My brother, the Bears game, right? The Dolphins. And Fields runs all over them. My brother is like, you just hear him like, come on, are you kidding me? We both hate running quarterbacks with like a serious passion. I always tell my brother, I never could have played professional sports because I would have gotten injected constantly for late hitting guys.
Oh, man.
Like, for instance, when Gronk dropped the elbow on that one DB in Buffalo a couple of years ago, that's totally me. That's totally me. I would have took all 260 pounds right on that guy's lower back.
You'd be giving everybody sweet chin music. I could already tell you the hard.
Oh, my body's not that flexible. I'm too big. It would have to be a power move, like a suplex, or like a rock bottom or something. Sweet chin music's for guys that can actually lift their lower half above their waist, which I haven't been able to. I couldn't do that when I was skinny.
Oh no.
Let alone at 260.
Shit, man. Okay.
But yeah, that would be, dude, if I could hit sweet chin music on one person, like my last game of my career, it's my last game, my last play, quarterback's running, just whack right in the chin. Oh, that would be beautiful. I know people are like, if that's the way I'm going to go out, like, so what?
That's a good way to go out, man. That's a good way to go out. Especially if you're known to be that kind of guy, go out like a king, man.
What did Randy Daytona say that I wanted to see? He said, where did he go?
Goldberg spear.
He said that, damn it, come back. He said for Greenlaw to have planned that hit would have needed a degree in astrophysics.
That's so true.
Yeah, just the way that you're supposed to manipulate your body on some of these plays to like stop. This isn't like the Matrix.
Yeah,
where you can just like take your body mid-air and like change direction. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, he's not.
I don't know.
He's not Neo. I don't think so. I agree.
Goldberg spear. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either. Goldberg spear, the stunner.
Oh.
Choke slam.
Oh.
Pile driver, whatever. Any move that puts somebody out for the count. The pedigree. I'm an old school Attitude Era wrestling fan.
Yo, me too, bro. Back in the day, that was I don't watch it anymore, but back in my heyday, yeah, man.
I'm the only guy that I followed recently in the last, I'd say 10 years is I'm a big CM Punk guy. I like CM
Punk. Yeah, Punk was.
I like him because he's like here in real life. He's like how I am. I speak my mind.
Yeah.
And there's like two types of people in my life. There's the people that agree with me, and there's the people that can't stand me because I talk too much. So. Yeah. I relate. He's like my wrestling. I project myself onto somebody. That's who. The Roddy Piper, the old, the new. The guys.
I liked him. I always like the heels. I like the villains.
As I've gotten older, I've become a fan. I like the bad guys. Oh, I love Darth Vader. He's my favorite character.
Hey, growing up, I liked watching G.I. Joe. I love Cobra.
You love Cobra Commanders.
I hated G.I. Joe. I wanted Cobra Commander to win. I was like, why can't Destro and Commander figure it out and beat these guys? One of these days, they got to do it. But I got love for the good guys too.
The only ones that I really like the good guy. I did like. I was a big Optimus Prime fan.
Oh yeah,
because I thought Megatron's turning into a gun was like a lame. Like he turned from a giant robot into like a small gun. It just didn't make any sense.
It makes sense. You're this gigantic robot, and you're like this.
Like you and Starscream are the same size, and we're going way off course here, guys. CM Punk had a Cobra tattoo. That is true.
Yeah.
He also had a Pepsi tattoo. All right, we'll move it back on track here.
Yeah. On track.
So let's talk a little bit Niners special teams. They've been pretty crummy this year for a team that kind of revamped their whole deal there. I mean, whether it's missed extra points or blocked kicks or blocked punts to bad coverage, like, to what's his name trying to do his little trick shot punts and ends up kicking them out of bounds instead. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, Mitch Wishnowsky, he's been pretty good for the most part. There was a week where he got like special teams player of the week, but there's been some moments where I'm like, all right, you're trying a little too. Like he's trying to, like that. There was a kick he made in that game. I mean, he kicked it. It got into like out of bounds on like the 22. I was like, all you had to do was kick it out of bounds or kick it to a touchback. Don't try to do anything fancy. I know you wanted to try to do a coffin corner, but it was an ugly attempt, and I was just like, okay, that was bad. So there's been blunders, poor coverage. I feel like they tried so hard to make this special team. Remember they said, we're putting emphasis on all three aspects of the game. Brought in a new special teams coach. They brought in Ray. They brought in Oren Burks. They brought in George Odom. And none of them have made an impact on me. I think Oren Burks has been nice because he's been good in terms of becoming a depth piece when they get injuries. I like what he's done. But in special teams, I feel like coverage hasn't been any better than it normally was last year. Odom, I haven't noticed much of him. He was a Pro Bowler, a special teamer, but I haven't seen Pro Bowl play out of him. Womack had some moments. They've had some nice little, he's been a decent gunner here and there. But you're right, man. Like special teams, I feel needs to be better. Robbie Gould, I think that kick he missed definitely was bad snap from Tabor, who usually is pretty solid. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to critique this team, you got to look at the special teams, and they have not been better than you would expect them to be, having made all these improvements in the offseason. So yeah, I still think there's a lot of improvement they can make.
Niners are like, they just haven't put it to one. I mean, who really ever does? But they haven't put one complete, like, clean game together where, like, every side. The Rams' second half was as good as I've seen them play all season.
Yeah.
But the Rams suck. So it's like, how much can you measure going against a team that's just really bad this year? So, like I said, the great thing about the NFL, if you're actually in playoff contention, is you have another week, and the Niners have another week, and the team they're going against is the Arizona Cardinals. Looks like my last topic here.
Yeah.
We got the Colt McCoy revenge game here. I don't know who's going to play quarterback. I don't know who's going to play wide receiver. If you had to give your kind of quick overview of what you think the Niners need to do, and what do you did the Niners have to get past the fact that Colt McCoy freaking tore him a new one last year, and just come out and just treat him just like any other scrub quarterback? Or I don't know. This game scares me on a couple different fronts.
Yeah.
One of them being Colt McCoy if he plays.
I agree. It's funny because Niners Twitter is like freaking out. When yesterday Adam Schefter tweets out, they don't know who's going to start. Kyler, who has a hamstring issue, or Colt McCoy. And everybody's like, if Colt McCoy plays, we might be in trouble. And Kyler's the big money guy, the guy that you paid all this money for. And he's the running quarterback, which we struggle. But Colt McCoy owned us. And I think the point of the matter is, if the Niners lose to Colt McCoy, I think fans will be so pissed. They'd be okay, I guess, less upset if you lose to Kyler because he's a better quarterback, right? He's paid a lot of money, so you expect him to come out and play a good game. If we lose to Colt McCoy, I think people will be pissed off. So that's why I don't think anybody wants Colt to play, because he took us to the woodshed last year. But that was a weird game. It's kind of an anomaly. He had players missing. I don't know. That was a weird energy game. But also, too, the Cardinals play the Niners pretty damn good every year, and it's a NFC West. It's an NFC West game. NFC West, any division game is going to be good, no matter the record. So, the Cardinals are going to bring it. This is a must-win game for the Cardinals. They don't care who they have playing. They have to win it, or their season's pretty much over. They're 4-6 right now. If they lose this, 4-7, they can kiss making the playoffs. With their schedule is murderer's row down there.
Yeah, they still got to play the whole AFC West, right?
Exactly. They got
Yeah, the
they-
Niners need to take care of business these next 2 weeks because Miami's going to be a really, really tough game.
that's gonna be the tough.
You have to take care. People always say you got to beat the teams in front of you.
Yeah.
And they get paid too. Listen, Niners roster wise are better than the next 2 teams that they play,
Easy.
hands down.
Easy.
So I'd rather us blow them both out, but if we sneak by on both games, great.
Yeah.
Because Miami's going to be really tough.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we can't beat Miami, but oh man, that's going to be a hard one.
It's tough.
The Niners are going to have to bring their running shoes in that game and score some damn points.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with kicking field goals against a team that can hit you with a 60-yard bomb to a speedster track star. So my whole thing with that game is I think the Niners will win, but I do think it's going to be close again, unfortunately. I hate to say it until the Niners prove me that they could blow somebody out who sucks other than the Rams, because they beat the Rams twice this year. They mollywopped them twice. That's it. Like nobody else have they really put the boots to. So what are your thoughts? You think the Niners win that game?
The Cardinals game? Yeah. I think it's going to be closer than people think. You're right. Because again, backs against the wall, Cardinals, it's this is a division game. And again, when you have a team that's on the ropes, they're going to try to play as best they can. I think the Niners could blow them out because there's potential. I feel Mexico City is going to be 80%. Niners
saw that.
A home game. The Niners have a lot of home games left. And I know it's supposed to be a Cardinals game. This is a neutral site, and it's more Niners.
82. They said 82% 49er fans.
82%. That's crazy.
So that stadium's going to be buzzing when the Niners are doing stuff.
It's going to be crazy. So I expect the Niners to win because of that home field advantage. That's a big stadium. It's going to be a massive vibe. But again, it comes down to, can they execute? Can they make their can they play mistake-free ball? And will the defense continue to play at a high level? I mean,
they couldn't stop the run the last time they played the Cardinals that game.
Just because they're banged up doesn't mean that we can beat them. Because look at the Chargers. They were banged up too, and they made it pretty dang close. And that's kind of the situation we're in this week. It's a tough team. It's, every week is a week-to-week game. There's no guarantees in football, and it's truly a week-to-week game. You never know. You can't predict it. I think the Niners will win, but I think it's a trap game because you're right. They got a lot of games that they're kind of looking ahead. I feel like the Saints is another kind of trap. I think they're really looking ahead to that Miami game because you got Mike McDaniel, the Miami Niners. I think Kyle's kind of really trying to figure out to prepare this team to get ready to play Miami. I don't think Kyle wants to lose to Miami because if Mike McDaniel comes to town and he beats Kyle, oh, God, people are going to talk. They're going to talk. Niners Twitter, if it still exists, because we don't know if Twitter's going to exist after tonight. If Niners Twitter is still there, they're going to blow this man's head off. It's going to be bad.
He's going to have to go into witness protection after that game, especially if you get mollywopped by the Dolphins, by your protege, so to speak. But
like little giants, man.
Yeah, I mean, if they do win, I wouldn't be surprised because they're really talented. But that's your dude, man. Like you train him.
Yeah.
So that's like I don't know. That's like someone coming back and beating Yoda. It shouldn't happen. Like Yoda's the master. But I don't know. I'm a nerd, man. I talk 49ers,
and
Star Wars.
I think if you're like from the 80s and 90s, you got to be a nerd. I don't know.
I'm a big Superman DC fan, even though Marvel's got it going on.
Oh yeah.
I'm a DC guy. I like Batman, Superman, Flash, Hawkman. I love all those guys.
I like
That's
that.
just I grew up during the Christopher Reeve Superman era, so I have a special place in my heart for the character. I had the pajamas, everything. But I'll give DC and Marvel props. They know what they're doing. They have a track record of kicking ass. So, but at the same time, DC's got new guys in charge. So who knows? Maybe they say they have a 10-year plan. Henry Cavill is back. So who knows? We'll see. Real quick before we get out of here, I just want to say thank you to 49ers Throwback with the $5 super. He said appreciate the show as always. Keep up the great work. Keep being you, man. Go Niners. Thank you very much, everybody in the chat. Thanks so much for coming through. Appreciate the support. I will be on tomorrow with Amin Nadreen with our Friday show, Big and Little, talking about the same stuff, but just a different coat of paint.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys will show up for that too. Till next time, everyone, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you later.